Evening, everyone. Welcome to our speaker night at the Theodore Roosevelt Inaugural National Historic Site. My name is Spencer Morgan. I am Executive Director here. Thank you for joining us this evening. Our topic will be the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library, its construction with an update, vision, and the future significance of that site. We have a guest speaker, Matt Briney, who is Chief Communications Officer for the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library. He will share exciting updates and details regarding the construction and planning of the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library in Medora, North Dakota. He will share how the Presidential Library came to be in Medora and how it will serve as a dynamic resource for historical scholarship and education, as well as how the user experience will be enhanced through AI and other new technologies. Following the presentation, we will have a question and answer. So please be sure if you're visiting remotely to ask your question in the chat box, and those in person, please raise your hand. And Pat, as always, will come around with a microphone so you can ask your question. And with that, I'm turning it over to you, Mr. Bryan.
Thank you, Spencer. Thank you, everybody. It's wonderful to be with you tonight. I'm Matt Briney, the Chief Communications Officer of the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library. I'm excited to be able to share some updates for you on the progress that we've been making on building this presidential library for 26th president. But I also want to provide a little bit of history about how it came to be, where it is in this remote location, and what we aim to do in the future. So the really origins of the library, unfortunately, starts with a very sad story. So before Theodore Roosevelt became the 26th president of the United States, a larger-than-life political figure and a pioneering conservationist, he was a young man struck by an unimaginable tragedy. So on February 14th, 1884, Roosevelt experienced what he would later refer to as the darkest day of my life. And on that fateful day, within a few mere hours, both his beloved wife, Alice Hathaway Lee, and his mother, Martha Mitty Bullock Roosevelt, died in the same house on the same day. His wife succumbing to Bright's disease after the birth of their daughter, and his mother of typhoid fever. Devastated, Roosevelt's grief pushed him to seek solace in the wilderness. Unable to stay in New York City, where there are too many reminders of loss that were ever present, Roosevelt turned to the remote, rugged lands of North Dakota. And you'll see in his journal here, he makes an entry that says, with just a marked X, and the light has gone out of my life. So just the impact that this had on him. His time in the Badlands, particularly in the small town of Medora, located in the western part of the state, adjacent to in the Badlands, and it was essentially the furthest the train could go at the time. This offered both. It's a particularly small town, but it offered him an escape and a path towards healing. The Badlands provided Roosevelt with a space to rebuild physically, emotionally, and spiritually. In his time, he was already familiar with Medora. In the fall of 1883, Roosevelt had visited the region on a bison hunting trip, during which he was so captivated by its stark beauty and the rugged terrain that he initially left and made such an impression on him, he decided to return and make a greater commitment. He invested $14,000 in a ranching operation at the Maltese Cross Ranch, situated just 7 miles south of the town of Medora. Roosevelt's time in the Badlands was very grueling. He lived the life of a cowboy, the strenuous life. He performed strenuous ranching work and enduring the punishing Dakota winters where the temperatures could easily drop below freezing and food would be very scarce. Embraced this life fully, though, and he gave him a sense of purpose and helped him both rebuild his body and spirit. And he once said, it was here that in the romance of my life began. The frontier toughened him. It instilled him with the physical endurance and the mental resilience that he would later define his political career. And the time he spent riding horses, hunting game, herding cattle, forging the rough riding persona for which he would become famous. So while in North Dakota, Roosevelt lived in a cabin on the Elkhorn Ranch, about 35 miles north of Medora, along the Little Missouri River. This ranch had become his home and a place where he could escape the pressures of public life and reconnect with nature. He thrived in isolation, in the isolated environment, famously saying, "I have always said I would never been president had it not been for my experiences in North Dakota." Roosevelt's experience in the Badlands also ignited his passion for conservation, and he witnessed firsthand the destruction of overgrazing and overhunting. The near extinction of bison particularly troubled him, and these observations continued to the policies that would later he championed as president. During his time as president and during his presidency, he would use the executive powers to establish the U.S. Forest Service, designate 150 national forests, 18 national monuments, 5 national parks, 51 bird reservations, and his conservation legacy remains one of his most enduring achievements. Now, Medora, for those that have not been, this is what he becomes. So it's on the railroad. He's arriving. There's not a lot there, right? But it was founded in 1883 by the French aristocrat, the Marquis de Morez, who named the town after his wife, Medora von Hoffman. De Morez had grand ambitions for the town, intending to turn it into a hub for a cattle industry by building a slaughterhouse and shipping meat to Chicago via refrigerated rail cars. This venture ultimately failed, though, but the influence in the town waned, but the Medora survived as a frontier town. So Roosevelt came shortly after it was founded, and he admired the spirit, the harshness, and it was in the 1880s, Medora was a rough and tumble place. It was populated by cowboys and outlaws, fortune seekers, and all who were drawn to the promise of a booming cattle industry. Despite the challenges, though, Roosevelt embraced the hard work, the camaraderie, and the occasional peril that life in Medora presented. His time in the town and the surrounding plains helped shape his worldview and cultivated the toughness which he would later become famous for. Although the cattle boom eventually went bust and De Morris' grand plans faded, Medora persisted, and today it stands as the gateway to the Theodore Roosevelt National Park, which was established in 1947 as a tribute to the president's legacy, and it's the only park named after an individual. Medora's history is interwoven with that of Theodore Roosevelt, and the town has become a destination for tourists eager to experience the landscape that profoundly shaped him. Medora now, today, is a small tourist town, attracts visitors from around the country, especially in the summer months. It has a very famous Medora musical that features very prominently TR and is performed in an open-air amphitheater. It also celebrates the vision of the town and Roosevelt's legacy. Visitors can also explore the Chateau de Morez and the former summer home that he took part in. The Theodore Roosevelt National Park leads tours through the landscape. You can go on hikes, you can see buffalo, and it has become really a vital area within the tourism of North Dakota, and because of the access to the natural beauty in the region and really the very efforts to be able to preserve the town and its Western charm. So how does the idea of a presidential library happen? Well, unlike many other U.S. presidents, Roosevelt didn't have an official presidential library because during his lifetime because of the way that the National Archives system, the National Archives and Records Administration, which oversees presidential libraries, wasn't established until 1934, well after his death in 1919. The U.S. presidential library system actually begins with Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1939, and where prior to this, presidential papers were considered private property and often resulting in the loss and destruction of significant historical documents. FDR, understanding the importance of preserving these documents, established the first presidential library at Hyde Park in New York, housing his papers and memorabilia and also historic artifacts. And he sets the precedent by donating his personal and official papers to the federal government. Later in 1955, Congress passed the Presidential Libraries Act, which formally establishes the framework for presidential libraries under the National Archives and Records Administration, giving them the responsibility of managing these libraries for future presidents and providing public access to their papers. So Roosevelt's legacy has been preserved, however, through many other ways. His papers reside in the Library of Congress. They reside at Harvard University, as well as numerous other archives, institutions, and historical societies around the country. There's no single institution dedicated solely to his life and accomplishments. And we're aiming to be a platform where that we can be that and then also amplify the sites that all serve this purpose as well. Now, unlike presidential libraries, which are part of the NARA system, the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library it will operate independently, and this independence allows us a lot of greater flexibility, but also the ability to do programming, exhibitions, and partnerships where it's more difficult to do under the NARA system. Although we will work very closely with the NARA system to be participating in presidential activities and share materials between libraries. So we're located in the Badlands here. You can see the immense beauty and spirit. The wildlife is all around it. These are the scenes that Theodore Roosevelt loved and endured about it. We are located in an area that at the very western part of North Dakota, and what we're not too far from Mount Rushmore, about 4.5 hour drive, and about a 6 hour drive to Yellowstone National Park. And so we're really we're trying to establish out there what we call the TR Triangle, which may be a road trip that you would take to take and visit both us as well as Mount Rushmore and Yellowstone National Park as part of this effort. The library is going to be different from a lot of other presidential libraries and a lot of other museums for that matter. The aim here is really to learn from yesterday to inform and create a new tomorrow. So the library will look as much to the past to be able to better the future. The vision that we have set for the library is to inspire action and fearless participation in the arena. I think Theodore Roosevelt would want it no other way. And we have 4 values that really kind of guide us: the dare greatly, think boldly, live passionately, and care deeply. Within this, there's 3 core pillars that will guide everything that we do at the library: citizenship, and really providing a nonpartisan platform for engagement; leadership, providing resources around TR's leadership to inform tomorrow's leaders; and then conservation, just with our proximity to the national park and the area that helped shape him, help train future leaders to be able to be conservationists in the same ideals of TR. So this is the library that we are constructing. It is located up on top of a butte overlooking the Badlands. We had a design competition and elected to bring on a designer called Snøhetta, who helped to create the library. You'll notice the library here is kind of built within the landscape. And then around the landscape, we have a 1.3 mile trail that allows people to take into the Badlands. It will have bridges that overlook. There will be areas that you can gaze out. There will be stargazing areas. So it's as much the idea of come in to get out. So we want you to come and see the library. We want you to come to see its exhibits, but we also really want you to also explore the landscape. And so this elevated boardwalk really kind of allows for unique perspectives throughout the space. You'll see here we've got that mile 1.3 1.3 mile walking path here that kind of gives you a glimpse into, what you'll see at TR National Park. A bridge that will take you over a canyon, looking into the grasslands, a shade canopy, and a sunken path. And the campus, if those that have gone to Medora and visited, you'll notice that over here is the Medora musical, which is the kind of one of the big major attractions. We will actually share a parking lot with the musical, and our operations are in the day. The musical is at night, so it really offers a full days of activity. It's 90 acres, the site in total, which, if you overlay it on top of a map of the town of Medora, which is just a few minutes down the road, it's actually about the same size as the town is. Again, additional renderings of this, we will maintain the grazing grasslands, but we also do a lot to restore that, and we'll talk about that briefly. The building is designed to kind of blend into the landscape, to not be intrusive. And as you traverse that 1.3 mile walking trail, there's going to be portions where actually the building will disappear completely out of sight. It's really remarkable. The other aspect of the building is it's going to have a green roof, so you'll be able to actually traverse a walking trail on top of the roof and be able to really see an amazing vista into the Badlands. We do think that there will be opportunities to come to the library by different means. So far from just your car, you'll be able to perhaps arrive on horseback. We also have the Mahade Trail, which is a 150-mile mountain biking trail that goes through North Dakota that will go right through the property as well. So we'll be encouraging people to not only explore the exhibits, explore the 1.3 mile elevated boardwalk around our facility, but also go take a hike from here. Go do interpretive tours within the landscape around us. And I think that this is going to be an amazing spot to do that. The building itself is kind of built in, has two wings. So on our one side, we have our 30,000 square foot museum space with a 5,000 square foot temporary gallery. We also have a cafe and on that particular side. And then on the opposite side, a 300 seat auditorium and classrooms, which will feature it. So this is your approach to the building. So it is really kind of nestled within the landscape. And we're using natural timbers as a way to have it blend, but also be sustainable. You'll see the approach here, the mass timbers that are used in places where, we could have used steel, and there is a portion of the superstructure that does use steel. There is, to try to be as sustainable as possible, we are also using mass timber that is compressed and glued together, these kind of more sustainable business practices. So the area that you see between our breezeway between the two buildings, those timbers at the top do a massive amount to support the green roof above it. In our lobby, we have a lovely, beautiful space as you enter. The Badlands kind of just continue into the building. And what you're seeing is a 26-foot rammed earth wall. So we actually collect soil from the surrounding areas and pneumatically compress it, and it forms into this hardened rock wall, which I can say that we've seen a preview of this already and at the library, and it is going to be a stunning feature of it. But really kind of the idea of bringing the earthy elements into the space, so you don't actually feel you've left into a completely different space. It's integrated as part of the experience. In our museum galleries, there's really kind of several different ways that we are looking at telling the story. So we have both narrative galleries, which are traditional objects and labels and stories around that. But then we have these immersive storytelling galleries that flank the narrative galleries of the exhibit. And this is where you're really going to be able to be immersed into the worlds of TR. So you're going to be in a campfire in Medora, outside the Elkhorn Ranch. You're going to be able to get to lead a charge up Kettle Hill in Cuba. You're going to be able to test your skills and knowledge as president. You're going to be able to design your own campaign posters. So these elements that we're going to be able to take you into the Amazon. We're going to be able to really immerse you into the man in the arena speech. And so these immersive exhibits are going to be a combination of high technology as well as scenic treatments to really get you to know these areas of his life. So while the building itself will blend very much into the Badlands, the narrative or the storytelling galleries are going to take you into completely different worlds away from North Dakota, where he was. The other aspect of this is really looking at how technology can advance not only your current visit, but to encourage you to engage beyond the library as well. So all guests that come will receive our Explorer's badge, which it's going to be part of what we call our Trailblazer system. Our Trailblazer system is going to allow you to have both interact with exhibits, to be able to take your campaign poster home, to be able to develop your own cowboy brand and be able to take it home. And this continued activities after your visit. So we're going to be able to know a little bit more about what interests you during your time there. And then we're going to be able to feed you new information that you may not know. So you can kind of continue that learning path beyond your visit to the library. And I think this is also going to extend into other places that you can visit, such as the inauguration site, such as Sagamore Hill, where we're wanting you to go and explore the other areas of TR's life. We hope that this is a gateway into being able to get you have a lifelong obsession with TR. These are some of the initial exhibit renderings that we're showing. So this is our narrative galleries, which have more of our kind of traditional objects and labels and contextual panels. And then I mentioned those immersive experiences here. This is a rendering of a really cool experience that we think that children are just absolutely going to enjoy. It's Theodore Roosevelt's Museum of Natural History that he creates in his brownstone, and with all the different animals and insects and various folks that he collects through his life. Those will come to life within this experience, and there will be interactive activities where kids can be able to make a drawing, and that then appears on the virtual wall behind there, or they'll be able to find little scavenger activities throughout the experience. I mentioned the campfire experience. This is going to be a storytelling experience where you can learn a little bit more about the folks that influenced TR's life in Medora, his time in the Badlands, and really got to get to know how he served his healing process in North Dakota. So obviously we're dealing with the father of conservation. The Elkhorn Ranch is often seen as the cradle of conservation. I mentioned all of his protections that he's done through his life, and the leadership that has on conservation. So it would be really fitting if we designed a library that thought of his legacy of conservation. And so we are going for those that are familiar with kind of a LEED Platinum. This is going to blow that out of the water. So we are going with a certification called a Living Building Challenge certification. To date, I believe there's only 27 buildings in the world that meet this standard. And so the aim here is to be zero energy, zero water, zero emissions, and zero waste. And so we're going to be doing this through several different petals that is part of this Living Building Challenge. So the importance of water, so sustainable water practices, capturing water, energy, producing our own energy, health and happiness. So even taking into account what is the visitor experience here? Are they having natural sunlight? Are they finding the environment healthy to be in? Are they connecting to nature? The materials that we're using, this is probably one of the largest challenges with this project is finding materials that are also sustainable. So your traditional kind of glues, that you might use, or epoxies that you might use within your exhibits, throw those all out the window. We cannot use those materials. In our cafe, thinking about sustainable, silverware and plates and different things that we can be doing on that. Equity is also a large portion of this. So we are very active within the community of Medora and the surrounding areas. We have great relationships with the Native American tribes, with the town, and we are very much planning. We know that the impact of this library will greatly impact a town that is only 168 residents, and so working with them to ensure that we're also not impacting their quality of life. Obviously, beauty and place, these do help. We are overlooking the Badlands and Theodore Roosevelt National Park, but the need to be able to also do further conservation in this. I mentioned, kind of the different aspects that we will be doing. So the green roof, it all has a membrane. It captures water. The plants that will be grown on top of them will also be doing a lot of that rain capture. We have carbon sequestration that we're going to be doing within it. We're going to be doing a lot of land restoration work that we're doing, and actually that has the area that it was a cattle ranch for years and years and years, and it's a kind of a monoculture where there's only like one or two varieties of grasses that grow on that. And actually, when we first purchased the property, there was a huge wildfire that ripped through it, and it's because of the biodiversity in that. And so we're really aiming to bring that back. Energy, we will be producing 105% of our energy. About 25% of that will be produced on site through solar panels and geothermal. And then 75% of that will also be located, the solar panels will also be located offsite in the region, but the building itself will actually produce more energy than it does consuming. And if you think about all the immersive exhibits with all the technology and the heating that needs to happen during the winter, this also is a very large challenge, and we will be producing a lot of power and with that. Waste, really a lot of this is, how can we look at diversion of things, and how can we make sure that, we're not we're trying to reduce the amount of send out as possible. So divert waste from landfills, find ways to use smart materials that biodegrade or can have all different purposes. So these are all the aspects that we're taking in. A lot of this is with our operations. And so this is a big practice that we're looking right now to find ways to ensure that as we're sourcing new materials, that we're doing it in ways that is forward thinking. Water in the West is often, one of the most precious resources. And so there will be large collection tanks where we'll be able to collect, for gray water and fresh water. We will reuse, the gray water to water to provide water to the native plants within the region. The biodiversity that we will be restoring to the area will also have a profound impact on the ability for the landscape to absorb water and retain water in the future. And so if those that are familiar with the Badlands, there's kind of you might be more familiar perhaps with our southern neighbors, Badlands, which can tend to get a little bit more visitation because of the tourism dollars that they pour into that. But I would argue that the Badlands in North Dakota especially in the early spring, when you are in a lush green area where there's been a lot of rainfall and water and snow melt, that provide a really amazing view and vista. And these are things that we aim to include. So spoke a little bit about the landscape management that we're going to be doing. So one of the projects that we're taking on is what we call our native plant project. Monocultured space on our 90 acres, used for ranching many years, and only the grasses that cattle enjoyed were really fostered to grow on that space. And so as a result, we've lost a lot of habitat for different mammals, and we've you can have one blight that might rip through and create disease. And so unfortunately, there really is only about 3 varieties of seed that foster what are native to North Dakota. And so our desire here is to create a seed mix that potentially could also be future commercially available, that would help to replenish the area and regrow the area to the way that it would have been when Theodore Roosevelt was there. And so this involves, we have USDA permits that allow us to go into the U.S. Forest Service and collect seeds from, non-endangered plants. And then we take that back to our partner, NDSU, the university system there, who helps to foster those seeds and grow them into to plants that will ultimately, seed will be collected from those plants, and several other growing seasons will happen. And once the library is in its final stage, the results of those replantings will be planted on the property, and we will continue to harvest and collect seed and germinate that throughout the path of the library. And ultimately, we hope to be able to create a seed mix that I think will have a profound impact beyond the library as well. We're talking particularly with several different oil companies who have to, after they complete a well, have to do land reclamation. And so the idea of creating a seed mix that could potentially be commercially available for those companies to be able to restore the land better than they actually received it, is something that we feel is very much within TR's ethos of conservation. So I promised you that I would show a little bit about, where we are in construction. So these photos are really about 2 weeks old now. And you can see we are about halfway there. So this is a drone aerial view up on top of the butte, overlooking the Badlands. And you can see we're quite lucky in August to still have this lush green pockets of green within the landscape there. You can see that where that green roof is, the final portions of steel and mass timbers are being assembled there for that green roof that you'll be able to walk upon. Encased in the forms off to the left of that is the rammed earth wall, which we've begun work on, and to be able to form that natural wall. Here in the breezeway, you can see some of the additional mass timbers in places where we did not want to use steel as a more ecologically sustainable way. We put these mass timbers in instead, which have actually the same strength as a steel beam. And this is kind of the photographer is up on top of the section of the roof where it's completed as of today, and you can kind of see what that view is going to look like. The library is absolutely going to totally disappear, and you're just going to feel like you can see for miles and miles and miles. And I love this photo of just the immensity of the project, right? And not only the big construction equipment and the materials around it, but just the vastness of the landscape that surrounds the library on all sides. So what are we going to be doing, once the library is open? Well, probably one of the largest things about this is because TR's objects and papers are well preserved in other institutions, we will not necessarily be a very active collecting organization. Not his papers will remain in the institutions where they exist. But the aim here really is to amplify things using the platforms that we will create. So we really have several different kind of tenets around this. First is education. There's several goals here to educate and inspire future leaders, generations of conservationists. We want to inform voters and make them active participants in democracy. We want to teach people to engage in healthy and constructive dialogue, which I think, unfortunately, today is a little bit of a missing dying art, and we're hoping that we can restore some of that. And we want to, raise the profile of sustainability and research and action within the walls of the library here. And we're going to be doing that through several different ways. So we will produce curriculum. We are going to start a TR Scholars program, which is going to go from high school to through college, and is going to select to find the students that are doing really amazing things in the name of kind of TR's leadership and conservation, and we're going to be able to find ways that we can amplify and continue their journey of increasing their scholarship. The other thing I'm really excited about, and prior to this, I was at the George Washington Presidential Library and got to see some programs like this foster as well, fellowship programs that we're going to be able to create, both in academic as well as conservation. We can imagine a lot of different people coming to Medora and spending time with us in the landscapes there and all the other different sites that we will touch. And we think that this will hopefully spur a whole nother aspect of encouraging more people to write books about TR, to do research about TR, to dive into topics that maybe haven't been explored. And we think that this is going to really foster a new level. Outdoor programming, where we are, we have a lot of opportunities to do some really amazing things here. So we're looking at nature classrooms, TR nature walks, working with conservation corps, doing outdoor leadership expeditions and photography safaris that will really allow people to start to engage in nature in a lot of the same ways that TR did. And these won't necessarily always be exclusively at the library. I think we are looking at really kind of nationwide programs. And so this is one of the things, as we start to explore more, we would love to work with other TR sites to figure out how we replicate in other regions as we start to develop these models. Convenings, I think this is something that we're very excited about doing. I think a lot of sites they'll often have symposiums or debates and speaker series. I think we're really what's going to be unique. We will have all those things. We will have speaker series that will be both in Medora, that will be live streamed around the country, as well as travel around the country to go to different locations. We will hold annual symposiums in Medora. We hope to have debates. There will be festivals that we will do. But I think what we're most excited about is this idea of bipartisan convenings. TR took on some of the most challenging issues of his time. He brought together, titans of industry with conservationists. And we feel like we can be a place where a safe space where people can have conversations, where we can work together and, have open dialogue to have better understanding about, one side versus the other. And use this area, this lovely area that we're in, this beautiful library, as a space to be able to unite and bring people together. Another aspect of our efforts is we are establishing a content studio. So the aim here really is to go beyond the library and Medora and its physical surroundings, and help to foster additional books to be published. We already have a great social media presence. I would encourage you to follow us. You can see both construction updates as well as TR history on that. But also we want to be able to produce traveling exhibitions that will travel the country. We're looking for new ways to potentially engage with a younger crowd. So we're looking at augmented reality as a way to potentially create interesting activities that you can do within your own backyard, or on hikes that you take with your family in your local hometown. We think that there should be more, documentaries, films, docudramas about TR, about the aspects of his life. We think that we can bring together a lot of great speakers, and who knows? There was such great success with Hamilton. Why can't there be a TR musical? I think that these are the big tasks and the aspects that we will look for the content studio to help to elevate and do this on a national and worldwide level too. One of the products that you can see right now, actually, of the content studio is our podcast, Good Citizen. It's hosted by Ted Roosevelt V, and he interviews leaders and inspirational people. And it's really all about how do you become a good citizen. No, so we're not necessarily concerned about their partisan or the politics or any of that. It's really about what good are they doing, and what value are they adding to humanity. And I think that we've had some really wonderful discussions on this. They're short, kind of 30-minute episodes, and provide really an amazing way to connect with leaders and next generation. I mentioned, that we will not have a tremendous amount of physical objects on site. We do have a partnership with Dickinson State University. For those TED heads out there, you're probably very familiar with their TR Center, which puts on annually a TR Symposium, and is in the efforts of gathering the digital copies of all of TR's papers and going through the painstaking aspects of cataloging and indexing into finding aids and other metadata, all the great information about where to find these things. And so we're going to be working very closely with their team to create a digital historical archive. We have a partnership with Microsoft, and this is enabling us to be able to do some really amazing and fascinating exploratory efforts in artificial intelligence. The simple concepts to just being able to transcribe his handwritten papers, or make them available in multiple different languages, to more advanced kind of technologies like where was TR here today, by being able to consume the various different archives, or a photo of him and who are the people within the photo, what's the backstory behind that. We think that artificial intelligence is really going to be able to enable us to be able to present things, particularly on the research side, to surface new things and collect things and find things in ways that that's going to just speed up research. We're very careful about this. We don't want to use it for any type of malicious ways or things that will create anything that's historically inaccurate. So there's always going to be an editorial control of what we do. But we think that we've been able to work very closely with the Microsoft teams to find ways to advance this. So through our partnerships, we're starting to be able to catalog these different things and and all the various different things we're looking, correspondences, diary entries, notes, political cartoons, scrapbooks, newspaper columns. So this is really going to look into all sorts of things. And I think for those TED Eds out there, that just the ability to be able to search on our site and find materials from where they find materials on a particular topic you might be interested in, but then also be able to drive back to the institutions where those are housed, right? I think that this really has a multiplying effect, to be able to identify the various catalogs and caches of materials that are out there, and drive people to those institutions. So we'll open up to questions soon, but this is just kind of a mantra that we've been utilizing, which is learn from the past, understand the present to create a better future. And we're just really encouraging everybody to join us in the arena. trlibrary.com is where you can learn more about the project, and we're opening July 4th, 2026. So have that date marked on your calendar. And we hope to see as many people as we possibly can in Medora on that wonderful day. And so just thank you everybody for having me, and love to entertain any questions you have.